Buongiorno tutti, sono Francesca Elisabetta, piacere mio. Hi there, you guys. Francesca Elisabetta, and I'm pleased to meet you if you don't know who I am. I want to talk to you about public transportation in Italy. Italy has fantastic trains. They have many different train systems, and they got a good bus network, but for me personally, the bus is kind of difficult unless I'm in a situation where it is the only option. I find that I can make more mistakes on buses than I can on the subways or the trains. I psychologically and intellectually can manage the trains and the subways much better, and I can recover if I made a mistake. Whereas buses, for me, are a little bit difficult. And I also, depending upon how crowded buses are, you got pickpocket situations. Not that you couldn't have pickpockets on the trains too, but buses for me are just more difficult. So let's talk public transportation. There's plenty of positive things, but I do want to talk about some of the areas that are warning areas or attention. And I have had these happen. You can get to any train station and find out that the booth where the workers are, that you get service from, is closed. Nobody's there. They're not open that day for no reason, even when they're supposed to be open. That's Italy. You can find that once in a while, and this has happened a lot of times, the actual machines where you pay are broken. So now you're not getting a ticket. Or you put in too big of a bill. You put in a 20 bill or a 50 bill, and the machine doesn't have change, and you're not getting change, girlfriend. So one of the things that I tell people is, and I think I have it here, is I have a double little system that I do in my purse. Give me a minute here. No, it doesn't look like my purse is here. I must have it in the other room. What I have is I have my small little travel wallet with a leash, and then I have a coin purse. I never carry a lot of money, but I put my bigger bills, sorry, this flyaway here. I just got it cut. I put the bigger bills in the wallet, but then I take 5s, 10s, 20s, several of them, and I put it in the coin purse. They're both hooked on a leash, and they're hooked inside of my purse. So in general, in traveling in Italy, I try desperately not to be walking around with a lot of 50s or 100s. No way. Now, if you're going into the store and you're going to drop major money, okay, then you can have a 50 or 100. But sometimes it's really hard to break it, and then you've got to be really careful about the change. So if you're paying for any form of public transportation, you definitely want to have a lot of 5s, a lot of 10s, a lot of 20s. And the funny thing is that's also true with gas pumps, because they've got this thing where you can feed cash into the gas pumps, and then you think you're going to get change. You don't get change. What they'll do is they will print out a receipt with an expiration date that you come back to that gas station before this expiration date on the receipt, and you hope to God that that ink doesn't evaporate like it does on faxes. And you have to get the codes and reprogram it. But let's say you're traveling all across the country in a vehicle. And this happened to me. I think we were in like Montalcino or Montepulciano, and we only had about a 20, but I only wanted to put $10 in, and the machine did not give me the change. It gave me this piece of paper, and I'm thinking, I'm not coming back to Montalcino for like, I don't know how many months, and now I got this piece of paper that you basically charged me $20 worth of, 20 euros worth of gas, and I only put in 10 or 12. So after I had that happen once or twice, I don't do that. I've even gone into a restaurant one time. I can't remember. I think it was, it's coming to me. It's up north on Italy on the left. It's near La Spezia, Cinque Terre. And the restaurant owner didn't want to give me change for a 50. Told me it was too bad. Just leave. $35 and that, something like that, 35 euros or 25 euros, and the rest was a tip. And I said, no way. And I stood there and I held my ground, but most people don't want to go through that. So again, 5, 10s, and 20s. And then if you see an opportunity to break a 50 in the right location, then get in there and break it so that you always have an abundance of it, because that's with buying tickets. Now, only because the consequences of getting caught on a train without a ticket is very high. The laws for Italy state that the conductors that go through the trains, that are the ticketing agents, you then, if you don't buy your ticket at the terminal because it's closed, it's broken, it's not open, and you get on the train without a ticket, you are obligated to chase up and down the train to find the conductor and tell him, at that stop, it was broken. I don't want to be charged a surcharge buying the ticket from you. I want to buy it now. Usually they'll say, go back to your seat, and when I get to you, I'll sell it to you, and I'll remember that you told me that. But, let's hope you can speak Italian so that you can communicate all of this. If you don't buy a ticket and they find you there, they will say, do you have a ticket? And you say to them, no, I wanted to buy it from you. And if you're lucky, they'll let you buy it at their price, which is more expensive than at the station, and they won't fine you. But there is a chance that they'll say, you should have come and found me and told me you needed a ticket, and therefore I am fining you. Give me your ID. And you must legally give them your ID, which is kind of scary, because I've had this happen with a particular train conductor that was very unethical, a female that ran the Umbrian to Rome to part of Florence. And the things that I saw this train conductor do that were so unethical, she kind of targeted people, and she knew when she could accuse you of having made a violation, and then she would demand that you had to pay her the fine money in cash right then and there. I saw her doing it to a woman who was carrying a small dog, and I understand Italian, and I listened to the whole story, and the woman knew that this train conductor was being unethical. And so the woman said, I'm calling the police right now. And she called her out on it. But you got to know how to do this. And she called the police, and the police came on, and the conductor continued to intimidate the woman. It was a female conductor intimidating the female customer. And lo and behold, when the police came on, in fact, the customer on the train was right. And this conductor was doing something illegal. And then the police said, do you want to file a denuncia, which means a legal action against her. And she proceeded to do it. And then as a little bit of time passed, the conductor kept coming back begging and begging and begging for the passenger to forgive her for committing this crime, and please drop the denuncia. And she ended up dropping the denuncia. Well, within 10 minutes of dropping the denuncia, not even, the train conductor went back 2 or 3 people and then started the behavior of trying to say, you owe me cash for this violation. And they will say everything and anything to scare you. And I saw this whole thing happening, and I speak the language. Well, several months later, I saw that train conductor, and although I had done everything right, there was something I had not done right, and I can't remember what it was. And she started pulling the stunt on me. I fought back verbally in Italian, and I refused to give her my ID because I was scared to death that once I put my ID in that woman's hand, I'd never get that ID back. Even though you're legally supposed to get it back, you're not going to get it back. So I refused to give it to her. And she said, well, I'm calling the police at the next stop. And I said, better yet, look at me. Here's my phone. I'm calling the police. And I'm telling my friend who works at the police station to meet me at the train track so that when we get off the train, you're going to get charged with what you did. And I held up the train and stood my ground. And she, to the last minute, kept threatening that she was going to file a denuncia on me, blah, 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 blah. The police got me off the train without an incident. And she never filed a denuncia. So, sorry, I just got my hair cut, so it's kind of like extra flyaway, and it keeps itching me. So that was one experience. I've seen other people be fined. I've seen people be thrown off the trains at stops you don't want to be thrown off at. So these are the worst case scenarios. And being in Italy 25 years, I've seen it all. I've seen the robberies. You got to be really careful I always do a purse on a diagonal, and I put it on that hip because I'm right-handed, so I want my left hand on my purse. You can't see me, but if the purse is on a diagonal here, I keep my hand on it, and then I do my business with the right, so that, because you just never know who's reaching from behind and reaching in. Actually, my sister, now that I think about it, was in a vehicle, and their windows were shut, and somebody on a motorcycle came buzzing by. No big deal, circled around, came by on a moped again. It was two of them, took a stick, smashed the back seat window, reached in, grabbed the backpack, and stole the backpack and went off with their money. So there's really aggressive things. You can't leave stuff in the car. You've got to have it in the trunk. But once again, if you're renting a car, they can see that there are rental plates on the car. So it's best to get the best insurance for things like that. Now, I've taken the train many a times, and I've had no problems at all, but there are plenty of problems. And depending upon, also, here's another thing. Going into like Florence, there's 4 different train stations in Florence. You've got to know which train station, like Santa Maria Novella, Firenze Santa Maria Novella, and the Santa Maria Novella is SMN. So even if you find out the name of the station, then you need to know what the abbreviation looks like, because often you will just see the abbreviation. So if you're like looking out the window trying to find the right stop, and you're looking for it to say Santa Maria Novella, you're going to be highly disappointed, because you're going to see SMN. Rome has about 3 stops. The last stop is Roma Termini, so that's the easiest. But right before it is Tiburtina, and then right before it, I forget which one it is. So you just really have to pay attention that you get off at the right stops. The trains will often bring you, if it's cities, they'll bring you right into the city, and you just need to know where you go. If you're going to smaller towns, it will bring you to the base of the town. And a lot of times the towns are up on a hill. They're hilltop villages. So you get off, and it's not reasonable to be walking that distance. You've got 2 options. You either hope that there's a taxi there, and you pay the taxi, take the taxi up. Probably is going to be about 15 euros up and 15 euros down. Or there might be buses, but you've got to make sure you get on the right bus. You got to get the bus ticket and the tabaccaria inside the terminal station before you get on the bus. To tell you the truth, when I was younger, I did all of this, and it wasn't an issue, although I learned the hard way from these experiences. Now that I'm older, I don't want that kind of stress. I want everything to be easy and organized. And so I usually, for when I do this with ladies, I just hire a private driver, and he can bring us right up to where we want to go. So that's a little bit about the Italian public transportation system. Ciao tutti, buona giornata.